Hello everyone, this is Lola Shivani and we are back with a new series of entrepreneurship. It's called Entrepreneur Spotlight. Today here is our new entrepreneur which you will be interacting with, and he is Adhikar Naidu. Hello sir.
Hi.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, sir. So I'll give you a brief introduction of what is Sir doing actually. So Sir is a co-founder of Signa X, which is the fastest growing Web3 venture supported by some of the leading European blockchain venture capitalists, and has been featured in global media publications. And Sir has done his master's in information systems and digital innovation in London School of Economics and Political Science. In a crisp, we can say that Sir is a tech entrepreneur. Is it, sir?
Indeed.
Okay, so in these days we are hearing a lot of buzzwords like blockchain, AI, Web3, Metaverse. I think you're the perfect one to have a conversation regarding this.
Thank you.
So let's start our interview, sir.
Sure. Let's do that.
So first question. So what inspired you to be a tech entrepreneur?
Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, personally, I've always wanted to become an entrepreneur. So that was my goal, and that also there's a reason for that. So my father's is a first generation entrepreneur back home. He's built everything from scratch, and watching him as I grew really inspired me, and that's the reason why entrepreneurship was always one of my go-to career choices, and that's how I started my first venture. And even my second venture now, after my first venture got acquired, was the driving force to build something to cater to specific markets and to really impact lives. It could be in a small way, in a big way, in a medium way, whatever you may call it, but have that little agent of change, I would say, was really the inspiration behind getting into entrepreneurship, more so on the tech side as well. Yeah.
So how does it feel to be born and brought up in a business family?
No, it was really amazing. I think personally, as I said, my father's a self-made entrepreneur. Literally, I think he's done it on his own. He supported my family, and seeing that, I really kind of learned a lot at an early age, in terms of managing people, clients, as well as building those business relationships and things like that, and that really guided me over the years. And I also felt that at home there was this environment where I was able to do what I love, where even in terms of the subjects I chose when I was studying right from school to college and beyond, I think that freedom was there where I could choose, and that really I felt nurtured me and got me to a place where I am today, is having that right support system, especially my mother, father, and my brother, of course, who's been the guiding force for me to start this venture. So yeah, I mean, I would say that support, that backing has really helped me and sort of taken me further.
So if I'm not wrong, this is your second startup.
Correct.
So what was the difference between your first and second startup? And as I just went through your LinkedIn, it was about experiential entrepreneurship. So how is that startup totally, I just saw that it's a totally different one. Mm-hmm. So what was your just take on moving from that particular startup to this? Sure.
See, I think with Startupreneur, again, our intent was to really help entrepreneurs go from 0 to 1, help them learn about the entire journey of entrepreneurship, idea generation, market research, building a product, team, and finally going to the market. And the interesting part is it was very immersive, experiential. So there was a lot of AR, VR, 3D elements to it. And I think that base is and that experience in the past many years has accumulated into Signa X as well, because and I'll also give you a brief about Signa X. Is at Signa X we are sort of building the metaverse and blockchain infrastructure for the next billion users, as I call it. So a lot of metaverse and these technologies are still very much 3D, right? So we've been able to gather that experience which I've had of building an immersive AR, VR or 3D based platform into something far more, I would say, larger, because I personally believe Metaverse is going to be the future. And when I say Metaverse, it is Metaverse combined with blockchain, which really gives an added advantage. And I guess that was really, playing according to my strengths, I would say, is having been in that arena or industry for a few years, I realized that, this is the right moment and the right time. And I personally believe, Web3 and all things Web3 will take off this decade. I think this decade belongs to Web3. So yeah, I guess that was my sort of journey from my first venture, from acquisition to, the new venture where we are working currently.
Yeah. So before we go into deep diving into Signa X, so as a student, I have some basic queries.
Sure.
It's basically like we heard a lot of terms like blockchain and Web3. So we read all these terms in Google, but I want to know what is the actual difference we learning from Google and what implementation process. Like, can you just give us a real life experience of working with that?
Sure, no, definitely. And I'll give an example of a metaverse or a blockchain and how it's changing the world, especially on the enterprises side. So just imagine a situation where you're building a 3D digital twin of a factory layout of a large enterprise, and you now can see at a click of a button and the entire factory as let's say a C-level executive or a senior leader. How? With the entire 3D metaverse simulated, you will now know that zone A, zone B, zone C, there are 3 zones of a factory. Zone A, why is it at 60% capacity? Why is zone B at 80%? And why is zone C at 50%? What are some of the reasons? You can emulate it, you can simulate these. At a click of button that, maybe these machines are overheating. That's why or you need to move particular areas of a factory from, let's say, zone A to zone B, and that's how you get more efficiency. And adding the whole blockchain element really changes it, because imagine you tracking that machine, every machine in a factory on chain. So you transfer this data of that machine onto the blockchain, and blockchain for people who are trying to learn, it's a digital ledger where nobody can tamper. So in a lot of ways you are sort of limiting or reducing a lot of risks which are out there today in terms of tampering or too much centralization having happened. So here it's a completely decentralized ledger where you, me, or anybody can see where that asset is tracked. So a senior level executive will know that this asset machine life is 20 years, it has run 18 years, it is now in the factory location A, and it will probably move to factory location B at the end of the 19th year, and it has, let's say, 5 more years of life left. So a lot of these things which would not have happened without this technology is happening today. And I strongly believe that at the intersection of Web3, AI, Metaverse and blockchain, we'll start to see these newer ways of tracking things, newer ways of helping enterprises achieve their goals. And just on quick example on the enterprise itself and how Metaverse is helping them. Just take an average brand, right, or anybody looking to enter the Metaverse today. Through the Metaverse, they're able to tap into an entirely new customer segment, right? The Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, the newer age group. All of us are now used to mobile phones and computers. We've grown up on that. 20-30 years back, not really, right? But now without a phone, it's almost impossible. Everything happens on virtually, and you have this new population coming in to the world in terms of working, in terms of studying, everything, and they want these newer experiences. They want to be felt more personalized. They don't want these impersonal experiences, and Metaverse gives them that gateway for a lot of these brands to tap into that segment, and it's a win-win, right? Like, customers are getting a better experience, brands are getting newer customers, and the world keeps evolving. So as I said, these are some of the really interesting and just some of the many which will come up in terms of use cases for blockchain, Metaverse, AI as well. So yeah.
So basically, it's like changing the interaction with the customers.
Correct. Exactly.
So how is it working on this project?
Yeah. No, it's been quite a journey for me personally, because I've studied a lot on blockchain and AI through my postgraduate as well as the past few years where I've been working. And as I said, this is one area which really interests me personally as well, apart from the professional side. And one of the beauty of Web3 is that a lot of market trends change rapidly.
Yes.
So in a traditional industry, let us say there is a industry cycle of 1 year, which is fast. Actually, even that is fast. In Web3, the industry cycle is probably 3 to 6 months, you know. So you have a new tech coming in, or you know, there's a new feature, or there's something new which comes in Web3, and people try to either integrate it or work on it. So I felt that has been a very interesting learning curve for me, is adapting to that market trends, because like especially if I look at manufacturing, market trends are far more longer. It could be 3 years, every 3 years some new tech comes in or some new product comes in, but here you have to be on your toes and try to adapt to the market. And yeah, I've loved it so far, because every day when I wake up, it's almost like, okay, I read the news, there's something new coming up, okay, I need to make sure that I'm on top of it. And yeah, it keeps me going in that way.
So basically, being an entrepreneur, there are two sides. One is greenery side, as well as you have thorn sides.
Correct.
Every day is a new challenge,
Yes,
basically.
yes.
So you work every day.
Correct.
So what is your strategy? Like, you have a lot of competitors in the market. So what is your strategy? What do you get prepared for each and every day to face that and get a better version of your company?
So I mean, I would say competition challenges are, you know, part and parcel of the entrepreneurship journey. And personally, the way I've looked at competition is more of co-opetition, as they call it, where a lot of the people we work with are traditionally, I wouldn't say our competitors, but more of peers. So there, you know, there's a subtle difference between peers and competition, because competition is literally you are trying to take the same bite of the chocolate to people, compared to peers where you might have a 100-gram chocolate bar and there is enough space for 10 people to eat 10 grams each, you know. So that is the way I look at every market, is, you know, the market size is big enough to accommodate everyone, or at least the top 3, 5, 10 people. It's not, of course, I mean, no market can accommodate hundreds or thousands of companies. It will still be those few, but I believe that almost every industry, and Web3 or any other industry has that space, and it's about you carving a niche for yourself in that space, and knowing which customer segment to tap in, which people to speak to, which enterprises to be on board, rather than, you know, just going all out and saying I want everyone as my customer. No, it's not going to work. So just try to be focused in whom you're targeting, and I think, you know, things will work out from there. Yeah.
Sir, for Signa X, we have investors who are European venture capitalists.
Yeah.
So what were your efforts in reaching them, and how did you convert the prospective investors to investors?
Yeah, no, I think, see, it's I mean, investors and you know, getting investors onto your startup is always a journey, and you know, that's why I always feel that you know, it's important for you to get the right investors, right? And I think the journey for us has been like really nice, because I mean, we got into a program with one of our early investors, and then I think the comfort with the team was really amazing for us, and they were able to support us with the right resources and, you know, planning, etc. And that helped us go from, you know, the early stage to the next stage. You know, every entrepreneurship, let's say, is divided into 5 stages, from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and you know, they've helped us go from one stage to the other. And I also feel that I personally believe once you know, I feel any investor, when they start working with us, once they know our culture and us as a founding team, they'll really get comfortable with our us as people, because you know, we have a really nice sort of focused working culture of, you know, sticking to the problem, solving it, trying to do something different along the way in terms of, you know, innovating and making sure the customer or the end user receives the best product. But along the way, as I said, right, like once any investor we've spoken to so far, once they've known us personally, I think they've always, you know, loved to get on board, and that's what I always try to do, is whenever I'm speaking to investors as well, is make sure that personal connect is there, because it shouldn't end up becoming just a transaction, right? Like, you know, it shouldn't be transactional where, okay, you know, there's money coming in, I need to deliver. At some point you need to have a personal relationship, because these are people you are going to work with for potentially a lot of years, and they will also be supportive to you in that journey, because startup is not a 1 year journey, or it's not a 6 months journey. It probably be a journey through the years, and I feel that level of comfort should be there whenever you are onboarding any investors. So yeah.
Sir, my friends asked me a question to ask to you. I just wrote it down.
Sure.
I want to ask you that.
Sure.
So they read a lot about your company. So they were really interested in knowing this question. They're like, what is the scope of Metaverse in startups, and which industries can benefit from these startups?
Sure. So I think I would divide right now Metaverse into two areas, right? Like one is your consumer Metaverse, and one is your enterprise or industrial or business Metaverse. So on the consumer side, it is you and me and everyone interacting, where we have a virtual world and we are playing games or whatever. So gaming is also considered as Metaverse, where it's just a virtual world. The second aspect is more B2B, where it's enterprise, consumer, business focused, and I believe the biggest impact you'll see is on the industrial side or the enterprise side, sheerly because the outcomes are far more stronger, far I would say wide reaching, compared to just a normal consumer Metaverse or a platform where only a few 100,000 people are there, or only a few thousand people are there. But on enterprise side, when you have a bigger enterprise or industry utilizing this technology, the reach is much larger, right? And as I said, the example of an industrial client building a 3D digital twin, or an enterprise using this Metaverse as a platform to reach out to newer customers and get them on board, again, are really interesting use cases. And like any technology, I feel there is a curve, right? Like no technology has gone from 0 to 100 in 1 to 2 years time. Every technology, there's initially everyone starts to learn about it, there's a lot of hype, then slowly things get normalized, and then you have this mainstream adoption kicking in. So I feel we are at that point where everyone's getting used to that technology now. They have to get comfortable with it, and then you'll have like a huge mainstream adoption wave, right? And just one example of that is, when we started digital payments or UPI in a country like India.
Yes.
10 years back, when we thought we'll pay anywhere through phone was funny. Everyone used to laugh. If you had a startup idea like that, everyone like, no, there's no way we were so digital and all. But today, just one example is, one of these days I just went out with my phone, and that was enough because Google Pay was there. And phone was enough to communicate, and Google Pay was enough to pay any vendor or shop. I was there, and these are some of the things, right? If UPI didn't take off in 2 years, it took us 10-15 years to get to the stage where millions are using, and today you have small businesses to street vendors, to big enterprises, anybody. You pay UPI, you are investing in stocks through UPI these days. So again, I feel Metaverse and blockchain and Web3 or AI or whatever, some of these technologies are at that phase where people have to get comfortable. Once they get comfortable is when you have wide mainstream adoption taking place.
So since we are all entrepreneurship students, so I have a question. You just said that before a product or a service gets a hit, there is a lot of risks involved in it. So you're also an investor. Yeah. So what do you look on to when you invest?
See, I would say 2 or 3 things really. As an investor, the number one thing is you should like the founding team or the entrepreneur. Because that is very important in terms of comfort, because when you're investing, as I said, right, it's not just the company you're investing, because company is just a private limited or whatever, it's the people. Yeah. Even if it's one investor, one founder or 2 founders or whatever, it is that team, number one. Number 2 is the stage they are in, because you will have to look at 2 ways, right? One is early stage, where you do not still have proof points yet, right? Like it will be very early stage customers or something. So you cannot treat it to a late stage startup which has 100,000 customers, because the funding proof points are far more higher in a late stage startup. So I would, in a lot of ways, first look at the stage of the startup and then sort of assess it, because it's not fair for me to assess an early stage startup the same way as a late stage startup, because the traction is very different. fairly early, you don't have enough money, so you'll maybe have 100 customers compared to a bigger startup which has 100,000 customers. So that's and the last one is, I think, just the market opportunity, right? Like even within market opportunity, I don't necessarily feel that it should only be a very big market. Yes. Even a niche of a small market is good. As long as you know how to conquer that market, it's fine. Because often I've seen investors say, oh, it has to be $1 trillion market or $100 billion, $200 billion market. But yes, yeah, that's fine. But are you even looking at how much can be achieved out of it, right? Because if there are 1,000 startups going behind a 100 billion market, imagine the market share each one will have. It's next to impossible. Versus even if it's a 1 billion market, you have 10 startups, it's still worth it. So yeah, these I would say are the 3 factors usually when, if you're looking from an investing point of view.
So what is the one advice you want to give to all the entrepreneurs and the tech entrepreneurs who are going into this market?
Yeah, I mean, I think just one word of advice is, as an entrepreneur, a very important trait is being realistic. Realistic about everything in terms of success, to in terms of taking the amount of time which will take to build a startup, the amount of effort, resources required to build a startup. Because often entrepreneurs think, or at least the first time entrepreneurs, rather, people who are starting off feel that it sometimes can be very easy where you're just raising a few $1 million, and no, that's not how entrepreneurship is, right? It's a journey in itself. It is a journey of you identifying the problem, understanding the customers, listening to them, getting feedback, pivoting. A lot of things happen. So try to be as realistic as possible in terms of your expectations out of it. And as I said, the more realistic you are, the more chances of you getting success and not being disappointed, right? Because it's very important for you not to think that just because you didn't hit 100 million revenues, it's a failure. It's not. Like, even if you hit, I would say, even 100k revenue, it may be a success for you. So just be realistic and keep pushing along. That's what I would say.
So one last one. One mantra you get up in the morning and get motivated to all our viewers.
I think for me personally, it's just about getting to a point where you feel fulfilled or satisfied at the end of the day. When I say that, it is even if you're getting a 1 hour break at the end of the day, it's about working that through the day. And again, I'm not saying you should work like for 14, 16, 18 hours, no, per day. Just even if you're working 5, 6, 4 hours a day, as long as you've done your bit, just leave the rest to whatever, God or destiny or whatever, right? Because there is only so much you can control in life. Everyone has to realize that it's not, you cannot take that pressure always that because I didn't do this didn't happen, because you cannot. Because sometimes I feel it is just, if it has to happen, it will happen, otherwise it won't, right? So everything's written. So yeah, I would say just wake up and keep pushing along and really keep doing your thing, and then leave it to God after that.
Thank you so much for all of your insights, sir. And this is Shivani signing off from Jagdish School of Management.